where Canada is concerned, I think there are some very specific issues. I think a lot of people know that. You are right. If you look at the people to people, if you look at the business relationship, it's very, very strong. For a lot of people, it is very difficult to imagine that we could reach the state of relations that we have today. So why has this happened? I would say definitely there is some history, for the non-Indians in the room, I should remind you that in the 1980s, Indian Air India plane was blown up flying out of Canada, and in many ways that's a kind of a overhang, because it wasn't just an incident, it was a reflection of something which was going on there. But at a time when many people felt that, look, that's all behind us, I think developments in the politics went in a different direction. And we are seeing to some degree the consequences of that. So again, I give you the first observation that, the broad attitude versus the specific. And I'll give you 2-3 examples of it. Canada has just, they asked us to subject our High Commissioner to a police inquiry, you can say, and we chose to withdraw the High Commissioner and diplomats. Now, look at it. They seem to have a problem if Indian diplomats are even trying to make efforts to find out what is happening in Canada on matters which directly pertain to their welfare and security. But look what happens in India. Canadian diplomats have no problem going around collecting information on our military, on our police, profiling people, targeting people to be stopped in Canada. So apparently the license that they give themselves is totally different from the kind of restrictions that they impose on diplomats in Canada. Or even take the press. I'm at a press event. Now, when we tell them, saying, look, you have people openly threatening leaders of India, diplomats of India, sometimes the threat is not just verbal, it's physical. So their answer is freedom of speech. Okay? Now, when Indian journalists make social media comments, if you threaten the Indian High Commissioner, he is supposed to accept it as freedom of speech. But if an Indian journalist says the Canadian High Commissioner walked out of South Block looking very grumpy, it is apparently foreign interference. Now, how, look at the, this is not even, double standards, a very mild word for it. So, look, there is this thing that we will do it differently at home, we will do it differently abroad, we will do it our way, but that doesn't apply to you. So I think these are the larger, I would say, adjustments which have to happen in this changing world. By the way, we're going to Russia. Prime Minister is going to Russia tomorrow. So timely question. Thank you. Look, I put it to you very simply. If you look at our history with Russia after independence, I can say, and with fear of contradiction from anybody in this room, that Russia has never done anything to impact our interests negatively. Okay? It's a big statement to make, because there are, among the major countries, there are not many countries about whom you can say this. Now, today, Russia's situation is different. I think Russia's relationship with the West has obviously broken down. So you have a Russia which is turning much more towards Asia. So we have to ask ourselves, if Russia is looking more at Asia, should Russia not have multiple options in Asia? Should we, as an Asian country, not take, what is good for us in national interest? And clearly, Russia, as a major natural resources power, has a complementarity with India at this stage of development when we are big resource consumers. So, people talk about Russian oil, but it isn't just Russian oil. It could be oil, it could be fertilizers, it could be metals, it could be coal. So there is a whole economic logic to it. There is also a basic strategic logic that if you look at the Eurasian landmass, there are 3 big countries. It's like 101 in international relations. You always keep you always keep a balance. You will always keep your relationship with the further away country in very, very good state. So there is a logic, strategic logic, there is an economic fit, and I think the relationship, the history is a positive asset in that relationship, and that's how I see it. There are areas which, for various reasons, after 2020, because they had blocked us, so we had blocked them. So dono tarfa tha, Bob. So what has happened is we have reached an understanding which will allow the patrolling. For example, you spoke about Depsang. That's not the only place. There are other places also. So I think the understanding, to my knowledge, is that we will be able to do the patrolling which we were doing in 2020. I think it's a good development. It's a positive development, and I would say it's a product of very patient and very persevering diplomacy. That at various points of time, people almost gave up. You can say, this has happened. So we have always maintained that, on the one hand, we had to obviously do the counter deployments, but side by side, we have been negotiating. We've been negotiating, in fact, since September of 2020, when I met my counterpart, Mr. Wangi, in Moscow at that time. So it has been a very patient process, maybe more complicated than it could and should have been, but whatever it is, the fact is, if we are able, as we now have, to reach an understanding regarding patrolling, regarding maintaining the observing the sanctity of the LAC, then I think what it does is it creates a basis that the peace and tranquility, which there should be in the border areas, which there was before 2020, hopefully we will be able to come back to that peace and tranquility. And that was our major concern, because we always said that if you disturb the peace and tranquility, how do you expect the rest of the relationship to go forward? So we'll have to see. I mean, abhi jo understanding jo thi, it was reached only today. So I think we have to see what the consequences are. I would say right now it's your right to speculate. It is my caution as a minister to be careful in responding. So it has just happened. There will be now meetings to see what should be the next steps.
Okay.